Hi, everyone. Good evening. Carl Steinbeck here. Just thought I'd jump on and talk about this case. That's pretty big headlines in the news nowadays. We had this CEO from United Healthcare gunned down middle of last week. They're outside of a hotel about 6 blocks south of Central Park in New York City. And this happened about 6:43 in the morning as he was walking, and he was gunned down about 12 to 15 feet behind him by an assassin that had a special type of weapon that's not real familiar. It's a type of pistol that has a bolt action device on it. It's not a semi automatic, it's not a revolver type gun. It's something I've never seen before. And it also it was a type that can have a silencer on it. So this is something very unusual. And initially, when I saw the video, I was not familiar with a pistol that had this kind of a bolt action thing where you had to pull the slide back and twist this lever in order to have uh, the spent shell casing eject out of the port. So I thought it was very much just a normal type of gun that the shooter was not familiar with it. So, but I can say from the fact that the shooter did strike the victim one time in the back and also hit him in the leg. The fact that he hit him in the leg and it leads me to believe that he wasn't really good with this weapon, was not really familiar with it, and nor was he a hired assassin of sorts. From the video and the different still photos we see of this suspect, it does look like he's a younger middle-aged person with sort of a clean cut look about him. He's thin, looks like he's somewhat tall, and New York City police have been able to pretty much gather all the locations where he's at moments before the murder as well as sometime afterwards as he made his what it looks like to be an attempt to escape the city. We don't know, of course, whether they did in fact flee the city or not, but it does look like he was having some kind of detailed plan to escape the city. From news reports, we're hearing that he did take a bus up from Atlanta a couple days earlier, and also stayed at a youth hostel there in New York City, where he also had some images of him there. Also, one with the mask off, where supposedly he was flirting with one of the attendants there at the hostel. So there's more and more stuff coming out there that they're putting out in the news. We don't know his name yet, but from my experience, they would already know his name, and they just don't want to release that to the public. There's a lot that there is to do with facial recognition nowadays that a lot of the general public doesn't know about it. I know, for example, in the Department of Defense, if you go on like a military base nowadays, they can take an image of your face just off your regular ID card, your military ID card, which doesn't have any 3D or special type of camera in advance of it to try to match it. So just driving through in a vehicle, they can pick up your face and identify you that way. You don't even have to show your ID card anymore, where they have these type of devices. So in any event, the with the killer still on the loose, and they don't know where he's at. Apparently, they're trying to him down. He went to the Port Authority to get on a bus, and from that bus location, they're not telling us which direction he could have gone. He could have fled north towards Boston. He could have fled towards D.C. To the south, and or he could have fled, to the east or west. We're not quite sure, but they're not telling us, but I believe that with what they're saying is like upwards of 1,000 law enforcement personnel working to track this guy down. I think it's surprising that he's still on the run, that they haven't tracked him down yet. But I think the longer it takes to find him, I think that more it shows that he had this thing planned out, and his escape route was planned to the extent that they at least haven't found out where he's at now. But I think they're probably going through records and whatnot, these different photos and images, and trying to do any kind of AI type of identification on him. And for them to be able to see where he's coming from Atlanta, they're probably combing a lot of areas there as well to also talk to people that maybe know him and maybe family members as well. So this person I would suspect is likely planning this out to also have an encounter with law enforcement. And I think there could be some kind of suicide by cop effort, or he could try to take his own life. And he perhaps might have taken his own life already. I was thinking about that maybe he's put some weights on his legs and jumped off a bridge and shot himself in the process to never be recovered again. But in any event, I think that this person pretty much signed off on wanting to unalive themselves by taking this extreme measure. Doing this, think of it, it was the sun hadn't quite come up yet in there in the city outside of this hotel, and this guy had been up there. I mean, it was definitely a targeted assassination. There's no question about it. I saw something on the news where it said this was a heat of passion, and well, it was. I think there was passion there, but it wasn't the heat of passion that resulted in this guy suddenly being killed without any planning. This was definitely planned out well in advance. Also, the fact that there was those words that were written on the spent shell casings that were found on the ground that had insurance type denial of claims wording on them. That also shows that he was very much trying to do vigilante type justice against his CEO. And there was also monopoly found in the backpack. They found a backpack in the Central Park area on Friday, and in there was a Monopoly games with the play money in there. So basically, he's taunting and mocking the United Healthcare system, and so this person has some very much building up anger to go after this person. I don't think he would have been a hired person to go do the killing. He doesn't seem to be professional about it, but he did seem to take enough time to really plan how to escape the city there, and so the other things they found was a water bottle and also a candy wrapper and also a burner phone. The burner phone was found near a passageway that he made on his way to go flee the scene of the murder to go back to Central Park, and from there they're going to be taking obviously DNA samples and whatnot to also further confirm his identity. And the backpack also probably has some of DNA on there as well. Some of the photos there that are coming out, it looks like the backpack maybe have different colored straps. Some of the photos of him don't look quite the same. Yet if you look at some of the background of the photos, like where there's an ottoman or something, what looks like an ottoman, it looks like it must be the same person, but it's not quite identical that way. So he might have had different jackets. If you notice the jackets, some of those are different in the sense of one of them sort of look like it's a regular collared jacket with a hoodie that he wore underneath it, and another one looks like an actual jacket that has a built-in hood for it that's maybe removable, but he was actually wearing the hood up. So I think he probably had a couple different change of clothes that way, and that's why we're seeing that discrepancy. So the murder happened on between 6th and 7th Avenue at 54th Street there in New York City. So, like I say, that's several blocks away from south side of Central Park. And the youth hostel he stayed at was at 103rd Street. So that was on the extreme northwest side of Central Park and a couple blocks away from Central Park. He's also seen in the Starbucks there. So there's some imagery on that. But this Brian Williams, the victim, he was only 50 years old. I understand he was a father of two. And the he'd been in there a number of years, and as I understand, he made around $9 million this past year as a CEO there. So, and there's some issues going on with the company. A lot of folks, I guess, up in arms about different things going on in the company, and there was some investigation going on as well, as I understand. But in any event, I just think again, going back to this weapon that was used, the BNT Station 6 with a suppressor on it. Suppressors are also very something for those of you who aren't familiar with weapons here in the United States. Suppressors are not easy to get. You have to have a background check. Like in Texas, you have to set up a trust and have the suppressor be owned by the trust in order to apply for an application. You have to have like say the federal background check involved. So there's a lot of process to go through to get that. So I'm just wondering, how did this guy get a hold of a suppressor? And so the suppressor obviously made it very quiet. This type of weapon is not very loud because it's manually functioning to extract the spent shell casings. You're going to have a quieter operation, and so in that sense, he sort of made a good choice. But having the bad aim and whatnot is also, like I say, indicative of him just not being very skilled with the use of handguns. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn over for any questions you guys have. Like I say, this is still a moving target in the news. There's a lot of stuff that's that's still coming out, and most of the stuff they're obviously keeping from us with all those kind of leads and tips that we're getting. Um, so, and I saw that the reward initially was only $10,000, which I thought was surprising, but the reward is now up to $60,000. I guess 50 from the FBI and 10,000 from the NYPD. So, yeah, serendipity smiles. You're saying the same thing as well. I don't know why the family isn't putting up money or the company isn't. It's really odd, I think, that they haven't put up a lot bigger bucks for that. All right, so here we have the two you're asking, could this be someone's doctor? He's quite lean, in good shape, can afford dental and expensive clothing. Um, Maybe he lives on an acreage with his gun type for pesky critters. Yeah, this doesn't look like your typical shooter. Your typical shooter is going to have a criminal record. I really don't think this guy has a criminal record. Maybe someone close to him um, had a claim denied, and the person suffered a lot because of that. And this person decided to try to take matters in their own hands. So, Lauren Crime, you're saying they have a terrible reputation for denying claims. Supposedly, yeah, that they have a really high denial rate compared to other insurance companies. So, yeah, there's somebody saying that also they thought it could be a woman. So I'm referring to as a male, but I guess could it be a female potentially? I don't think so. Based on what I've seen from the from I'm looking at the eyebrows stuff like that. I just don't think it's a female, but that remains to be seen. I'm pretty confident it's a male. Okay, so let's see. You guys are doing a lot of chat among yourselves. Yeah, this is Linda Mon, you're saying it looks like it has a fake nose, chin, and jaw. And keep in mind the pictures, they can look very different from one picture to the next, even though it's from coming from the same angle, 'cause based on granular the grain that's showing up on the different pics. And the video isn't the clearest, obviously, as well. Or here, Fred Porlock, you're saying you don't believe the same person. Just odd that the pics they released the next day clearly show his face. Yeah, and you also think it's a male too. So yeah, I do think that's the case. We do have a pretty good image. I think the fact that he's turning and smiling there at the hostel, I think that's a good thing. And to be able to make sure he got the right person. Oh, Serendipity Smiles, you're saying they're number on the list for highest claim denial rate in the U.S. Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem is number two, and that's what she has with her family. They denied anesthesia for a colonoscopy. Wow, that's bizarre. I've never heard of that. So, Sir Tedrick Walker, you're saying that you don't think there's really effort to find him. I do think there's a massive hunt to track this guy down. I think, though, if you compare it to the Professor Dan Markel murder, think about it. They just had Tallahassee PD, um, and really not that much effort from the FBI when Professor Markel was gunned down. So it just seems like there's a huge difference in the level of attention for this case. And think about also the national media's coverage of this. Granted, they're in New York City, it's not Tallahassee, so that automatically is going to get it spun up in the news much differently. But also, the law enforcement is treating this much differently than the Professor Dan Markel murder case. All right, just scrolling through. If you do have questions, Yeah, dog's discussion. That's another good question. You're saying, how did he know he would be outside so early? I think he maybe showed up, made at least and checked it out the day before, maybe his patterns, and he knew that he was going to be speaking there. So I think he just got there early and was that, hoping that he was gonna find him there. And what do you know? What's a guy like making that kind of money, not having security there with him? You're in New York City. It's much safer than it used to be, but, this is a targeted killing, so if somebody's out to target you, it doesn't matter where you're at, if they get a clean shot from your back, that's, doesn't matter. Yeah, I would think that he would have also maybe some kind of flak jacket on, if he doesn't have any kind of, protection from, security details, but that apparently was not the case either. Yeah, different people upset with insurance companies, and so yeah, think of the number of people that would have an axe to grind against this company. It's in the numbers are way up there. I don't know anything about what his personal life was, other than the fact he had kids. I don't know his marital status or whatnot, as some of you are talking here. And this suspect's getting a lot of sympathy too. Yankee Doodle, you're saying no jury will convict him. I'm not so sure about that, but yeah, there is folks that are sympathetic from what I'm hearing, but ultimately he had taken this premeditated murder action, and it doesn't get more serious than that to make that kind of effort. And as they're telling us, he came from multiple states away to make this targeted killing. So, Moram Kamugi, you're saying, what are your thoughts on any co-conspirators? I feel like there has to be at least one person who helped him. I don't know that there's any um, co-conspirators that actually helped assist in this. To be a co-conspirator, you actually have to help plan it or take some kind of action and make help out with the planning at least, or do something minor like that. So, in any event, I think. I think that is a possibility. We just don't know, or he could be a little lone gunman that did this. So, um, but in any event, he maybe has some family that knows they disappeared, and they suspect it's him. So maybe the law enforcement's already been talking to them. Is what I figured happened. Okay, Jenny Allison, you're saying I don't think it had a suppressor. It was a BNT, which is a farm animal weapon, is especially quiet, so it doesn't cause the animals to jump. Okay, you seem to have some insight with this particular weapon. From the photos, though, it definitely had an extended barrel, and that was be consistent with a suppressor. And if you go to the BNT website, they do advertise this as having a suppressor capability, and they actually show it with one on there. So. Um, but yeah, interesting that he would have researched probably what's the quietest weapon to shoot somebody with. So that's maybe why he got that. And there's not a lot of people that would buy that weapon, I would say. So I would say they're probably going to comb all over where the guy's from to see exactly where he bought it, and they'll probably have more things there. Like maybe did he buy this in his own name or what have you. JC, you're asking, what is all the talk that the typical internet sleuths don't want to get involved and help the FBI? I'm not hearing anything about that, JC, so I can't comment on that. So I guess in terms of like tracking this guy down, where he's at, and that kind of thing, I don't know that anybody could really assist in that unless somebody recognizes him. And you would think that where this guy went to school, high school, and whatnot, people would recognize his face, especially with that side profile from the hostile. So, and maybe that's already been done, and it's just a matter of they're trying to figure out where he went to. He probably didn't go back to his home state. Maybe he's on the run out west. Jesus lover, you're saying if he rides by a subway, did the shooting and left via bicycle. Can we assume this was definitely premeditated? Yes, it was definitely premeditated. I mean, he was waiting outside the hotel there for him. And as soon as he comes up, he guns him down. Plus, also what was written on the bullets, excuse me, not the bullets, but the shell casings. He did that beforehand, had some engraving on that. So for him to do that, he's definitely tied into anger at this particular person. There's no doubt this was he was the one that was targeted for this. Dog discussions, you're saying, could he have hired a hitman, ordered a hit on himself because he was in a lot of trouble, possibly insider trading like Murdaugh had on him, a hit on himself. You know that things are so crazy nowadays. That is that is a possibility. Um, don't know for sure, but that's something that's um, I I would say that you know it's I don't know it's so far fetched, but you know truth is stranger than fiction. So having this one work out like Murdo, could it be a copycat kind of thing? I guess anything's possible. Right, Lauren Crime, you're saying I thought the gun was used for killing farm animals. What it makes sense from what we heard from that other comment if it doesn't make a lot of noise compared to other weapons. But I don't think most farmers are using suppressors unless they're shooting hogs. I know that's probably the most typical reason folks that go out and shoot the feral hogs uh, that are very common out in the southern United States. That they'll use suppressors to be able to shoot more of them because they won't hear the shots fired as much and take off running. So you can get more hogs killed in a setting by having a suppressor. Shopping specifically, yeah, excuse me. Specifically, you're saying, do you think that he was getting tipped by another person when as to when the CEO was exiting his hotel? I think he knew what the guy looked like, so I don't think he had to get a tip. I think he's just waiting for there for him to show up. So there's no indication that I've seen that there was another person there at the scene with them. I think if there was going to be some other assistance, it would have been more in the planning stage and helping them remain on the run. JC, you're saying, what do you think goes through the killer's mind to leave a backpack to be found that will surely have some DNA? Seems so strange you leave for them. Well, I think in a way he was taunting the police. I think he was realizing his DNA is going to be found. That's why it leads me to believe I think he's planning his demise. I don't think he's um, is going to want to fight this and go to trial. I think he's trying to enjoy every day of freedom that he can until the world comes crashing down on him. And then my prediction is he's not gonna want to face arrest and trial, but we don't know for sure. The FBI profilers will be doing that kind of assessment. And that also leads into the two. You're saying, why would he stay at the hospital? Wouldn't you try to stay incognito, not with numerous people per room? That's also another indicator because he also removed the covering over his face and got on camera that way. So it almost looks like he's just up there to make the assassination effort and then escape and spend some number of days. Excuse me, this is my voice here. Um, Ellen, you're saying the witnesses to the left has not come forward an accomplice. I don't think so. I think that there would have been some kind of information put out that they're looking for another party as well. I think they're probably thinking this is, at least for who was in New York City, is this the one individual assassin? A lot of talk about surgeries and colonoscopies here. Jesus Love, you're asking, can the ATF supply a list of buyers for the weapon used and use the process of elimination if this is an uncommon firearm? Well, if they think this guy came from Atlanta and that's probably where he then got the purchased the weapon, there'd be a form that you fill out here in the United States. It's a form that goes to the ATF and they do a background check, and within 10 or 20 minutes, you're either cleared or not cleared. And so, did the guy probably could have bought this, been cleared, and maybe not worried so much about covering up his identity. So I think that he's he's going to be in the on the run for a while as long as he can. But I think there's going to be some kind of digital thing he leaves behind. I know you see that a lot of time in the movies where somebody leaves some digital trace, and lo and behold, that's how law enforcement nabs him. So he's sort of like being a Jason Bourne type, where he's trying to flee the law enforcement guys trying to nab him. Television, you're saying if the police really do have his name, is why not release as a person of interest? I would say that that's police prerogative. They don't want him. They want him to maybe think that he still has a chance of making more movement as opposed to locking down in place. That could be one of the motives for it. But a lot of times they do not reveal the person of interest. Okay, Jenny Allison, you're saying former New York police detectives are saying it's a man. It is the same man in each photo. Someone produced an AI photo based off the photo from the hostel where the girl is flirting with him, asking him to lower his face cover. So that's what it appears like to me, that it's not a female, but a male, as I said earlier. Yeah, I've talked about this before. Aunt Nancy, you're saying what I think the monopoly money in the backpack is telling us. I think it is an indicator that he is taunting him, trying to show him what this murder was about, and he's not worried about getting caught because a professional killer would not be leaving this kind of taunting messages. Someone that's out for vengeance is what would do something like this, to taunt and throw the police off and make them look like they have some kind of control, and they're gonna stay ahead of the law. Gigi, you're saying you think he got off the bus and got off somewhere and took his own life. That's why they can't find him. But come on, no one has been able to identify him yet. That's what I think. This is good. There's a probability as well that he's already um, taken his life. So I think that it's just a prerogative for law enforcement not to identify who he is. So that may come out in the next day or two if they still haven't found him, his whereabouts. Tiger Shark Diver saying Atlantic, Connecticut to buy the gun, then 10 days before NYC is insane. I heard that that was not accurate, that the gun was purchased in Connecticut. If somebody can confirm that, I'm just not tracking that. I thought that was debunked. Let's see. Thanks, Clueless Beekeeping. All right. There was also a fake ID he had. They're very easy to acquire a fake ID. So I think there's other means to find out who his identity is. And think, like I said earlier, I think they have that in place. Okay, Serendipity Smiles. That's interesting here. You're saying he did have a security detail with him, but he chose to leave the hotel without them in tow. That's why I'm leaning towards him setting up his own demise due to insider trading, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think I might have mentioned this before on the channel. There was someone I used to work with that were they were also a senior defense counsel doing court martial defense, and they had actually been in they were getting into trouble, and they wound up taking their own life as well. And so this would be sort of more of a elaborate scheme. So if this guy was worried about something coming down on his head, and in his mind, ruin his life. It's not worth living, that kind of thing. Could something like this happen? Yes. I just don't think that's, my instincts don't tell me that's what happened here. We'll see what happens, when the rest of the facts come rolling out. Jenny Allison, you're saying coworkers of BT said that they rarely had protection when he traveled. I don't understand why, based on the fact that his wife said they had received threats in the past. Yeah, that's really strange. I think you mean United Healthcare, instead of BT. Yeah, the 2 you're saying his wife mentioned Brian had received threats previously, as well were all the NYPD that I'm told are on every corner. Well, they're not on every corner, and you can go many blocks and not see a single, police officer, but you normally don't have this kind of thing going on in Manhattan. You may have in other boroughs, but not Manhattan. Don't know anything about, what Dog's discussion saying here about living in a separate house from his family. Yeah, we don't know if it's a 9 millimeter 45 for that, BNT Station 6 weapon. Okay, you're asking, do I think this killing could spark a larger discussion about how a rich person's murder triggers a massive manhunt while regular folks' murders do not? I sort of mentioned that earlier. If you even compare it like with Preston Markel, there wasn't a huge, pursuit of, that in the news, and there still isn't to the day, compared to what we're getting from the CEO. So I think also the fact that happening in New York City, that automatically is going to amp it up by a large amount. Yeah, we haven't. Linda Ortiz, you're asking where's the footage of Brian being cared for by EMS and ambulance. I understand he's survived for about 30 minutes before he passed. Leslie S., you're saying, you saw a photo of Brian being lifted in the ambulance. I have not seen that photo. Sandy Anderson, you're saying many meetings have a breakfast available for attendees. That's apparently why he's showing up so early. Because yeah, most meetings wouldn't start till like 8:39. Debbie M., you're asking what about the doorman or doorman who fled when he began to shoot? Have you heard anything about him or her? I would imagine the person's traumatized. Yeah, that would be pretty shocking to see that happen. Lindemann, you're asking, do I think he followed him from Minnesota? I don't think so because it's from what the reports are, he came from Atlanta on a bus. The two you're asking, will company executives no longer post upcoming conferences? Well, this one had to do, I think, more with shareholders. So this one would be, posted for shareholders to attend, as that's my understanding of it. Gerard, you're saying if the assassin crossed state lines, would he be charged federally? They could pick him up, through the federal system, or he could also be, prosecuted through New York, uh, State Police and, district attorney's offices there in New York. They would have to negotiate that among themselves. All right, Robin Hood, you're saying investigator on STS said 4 execs, including Mr. Thompson, are under FBI investigation for insider trading. They dumped $100 million of UH stock 2 weeks before a DOJ investigation was announced. And so I don't see the rest of it after that right here. Maybe Thompson's going to plea and the other six want to stop him from turning state's evidence. I mean, that kind of stuff can happen. It sounds a little bit far-fetched, but yeah, whistleblowers, they can have folks go after him that way. Definitely. There's just a lot of unresolved questions now that it's going to take some time to flesh out. The two you're asking, do New York buses have cameras like Tallahassee Transit? I assume they all do. I can't imagine they wouldn't. They're just not releasing those. I'm sure they're combing through whatever means he was last seen traveling on. Tiger Shark Diver saying he could be out of the country by now. It's possible. I don't think he is. I don't think he's out of the country yet. I really don't. So let's see here. Robin Hood, you're saying, I wonder if what the amount or total monopoly money was. That might be a clue. Don't know. We haven't gotten those kind of details yet. All right, so let's see. Looking for Miriam, you're asking, I think it would be interesting to find out if walking alone in the early to that meeting was always the plan or if he had someone else call an audible that morning. Yeah, just we don't know that yet, but that's too early to tell. All right, Jenny Allison, again, you're saying his former bodyguard was interviewed and said it was highly unusual that he not have any security with him. Said it was either personal choice or UHC did not want to provide protection. So yeah, it is. I would say it's very unusual and it is very, very concerning. I remember even I'm thinking of somebody that is in a high society position that takes their life because something's coming down on their heads. I'm thinking of like there was Admiral Borda many years ago. He was wearing some medals he shouldn't have been wearing. He was like, I think he was like CNO of the Navy, Chief Naval Officer, one of the highest ranking positions in the Pentagon. And he was called out in some article about wearing some medals he wasn't supposed to be wearing, making him look more of a war hero kind of thing. And as it turns out, he wound up taking his life rather than fess up to that. So yeah, you do see people of means and high positions that do this kind of thing. So just don't have all the facts yet for us to make that call. Julie Nielsen, yes, I do think it's someone mad at United Healthcare, and so if this is about the CEO Brian Thompson, I would say they wouldn't go through the effort to engrave the shell casings, and they wouldn't have the monopoly money in there. So that's what makes it look like this is really something related to his job performance, or what the insurance company actually did to someone close to them. Julie, you're also saying if mad at the company, the board of directors are the power holders more than the CEO. So, well, the board of directors, they don't meet as often as the CEO and they don't handle the day-to-day activities. So I would say most people are not going to look at the board of directors if they're mad at the company. I would think that they're going to be looking at the CEO or president, someone in that position. Can hear the cats running around right now, wrestling. Robin Luan, you're saying he must have known the CEO habits or was stalking him. I think got up there and he knew the meeting was going to take place there, and he probably did some scoping the day before. Maybe he tried to kill him the day before and didn't have what he thought was a good shot to get away. And maybe he planned all along though to do it early in the morning. It's still there's some darkness there, and it's easier to flee the scene. It's starting to get light. It wasn't totally dark there, and with the street lights and all that, it's not going to be um, a type of situation where you can't make him out at all as he's taken off to escape. Okay, tracking BT's initials, Brian Thompson. Yep, that's true. Okay, tracking that. Thank you. Yeah, you're saying etched casings could be a red herring. That's possible, but it's too early to say. But I don't. My instincts are it's not. But then again, it would make it look like it was something that wasn't staged by him, and it was someone else that had that kind of vigilante mindset. So yeah, anything's possible. I'm not ruling anything out like that. The 2 year thing, it's been said that the shooter was in New York City for about 8 to 10 days. Obviously, did a few dry runs of various escape routes. Was just a 1 day meeting or the last day. Not sure about how many days that was supposed to last, but I've I would bet, yeah, if he was definitely planned an escape route, and if he didn't do it on foot and through mass transit, then he definitely was planning it out ahead of time before he ever got to New York. Robin Hood, you're saying so much speculation, but I'm going to follow $100 million in stock sales. Follow the money. Yeah, I mean, this could very well be a situation where he was going to flip on another co-conspirator, as it turns out, they wanted to take him out and make it look like it was somebody else denied a claim. So that's a possibility as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead take just one other question after this. Julie Nelson, you're saying, isn't it odd he didn't have security or vest because his wife said recent threats were on his life? I mean, supposedly they're there in the hotel still. He got up early, and in any event, it's very much something. Yeah, even a vest. Why wouldn't you have a vest if you're going to go outside without a security detail? They have lighter versions of them now where they're not going to be that bulky, and you cannot see him as much if you're wearing a jacket like he was wearing. So the jacket, if he would have had one of those vests on, it probably would have been a something to save his life. And Bradley, you're saying here in Minnesota, they say Brian loves his children more than anything. He's going to hire someone to kill him. Yeah, normally you'd think that's the case, but anything's possible. Anything's possible. We just don't have enough details right now. Yeah, Julia, in the beginning, that's what I said. This doesn't look like a professional hit job. It doesn't look like someone was hired to do this. And even if they were hired, it was more like some kind of bumbling type uh, hitmen that like that was used by the Adelsons in the Professor Dan Markel murder. Yeah, you're saying you think he's maybe an extreme activist. That could be something along the lines as well that the FBI will have to be looking at along with NYPD. There's a lot of uh, terrorism type things that's done also for different different types of businesses as well. That's been done over the years, whether it's burning up all the cars in a parking lot at a car dealership to releasing all the mink on a mink farm kind of thing. So those are the kind of extreme activists that maybe decide to go take on a CEO of a healthcare company. Yeah, so they call it eco terrorism. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off tonight. And so this case is still in the main news every day. So like I say, every day that he's not found, I think it's going to be harder and harder to find him. And so I may cover this again sometime in the future as well, if they catch him or if there's some other unique aspects to it. So, other than that, I plan to come back for the 10th to talk about the update on the Donna Adelson hearing, the case management hearing, and we'll talk about the trial date and anything else that develops during that court hearing in front of Judge Stephen Everett. So, you'll have a good night and have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Thanks. Good night.